And we're away. All right. Again, Kevin Lawrence here. Looking forward to having some time with you today to share some of the best ideas we have around managing stress and staying resilient in these somewhat stressful times. And we'll have some time for some Q&A at the end. We want to get some of your ideas of things that are really helping you and that we can share with other people. We'll get into that. So I mentioned that we'll be recording this today to share with other people that aren't able to make it live, as we want to help as many people as we can. And the main quote out of my book is very relevant today. There's no in between with leadership. Either it slowly destroys your life and stresses you out, or it forces you to get stronger. And today, we've all got an opportunity to kind of get strong, like Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's kind of like we're hitting the mental gym to be able to get stronger and more resilient, whether we like it or not. We will come out better from this situation. And so we got a short time. I'm going to touch on the 17 habits, give you some ideas that'll help you in this tornado and a bit of madness that we're in, to build some strength and come out the other side feeling better and stronger, and maybe even enjoy your day a bit today too. I'm sure you will. The hardest part about everything in terms of what we're doing as leaders is that when things get stressful, it's hard to keep your head above the clouds. Sometimes you gotta stand on your tiptoes to stay above it all. But our job as leaders is to see the way and to help the other people around us to be able to make the right choices and do the right things. But when there's a lot of stress and madness or panic around us, we can end up like this, and that's not the ideal place that we want to be. And we're here to help you kind of stay out of that and be more in this kind of a place. And so we want to start off with a quick poll here today, and just asking you how you are on a scale of 0 to 10. And Tim, are you able to kick off that poll for us? I think I might need to do it. So there we go. So I'm going to launch the poll. How are you doing on a scale of 0 to 10? So if you just want to answer the question and then submit where you're at. So we've got a bunch of 8s, 7s, a 10. It looks like right now we got 7% are at a 10, and about a third or a 7 or 8. We've got a couple that are at a 4, a couple that are at a 5, but a little bit spread out. And understandably, we're hearing people that are having amazing booming times in their businesses right now, and great time in their life. And we're also hearing people that are really having big struggles. It depends on the business you're in and how kind of getting people to work from home and kind of climbing up a little bit affects your business. Thank you for sharing that. And we're gonna skip that. Great. So what we're trying to do is, one of the first things, I crashed first at 24 where stress got the best of me. I was in the media business and I crashed really hard. Actually, I messed up for a couple of years. And the sage advice I got from my boss at the time, he was a really good guy, but he goes, Kevin, you might not be motivated to get up and work in the morning. So you should get a big mortgage, and that'll motivate the heck out of you. When I was young, I didn't care about getting a mortgage. I didn't want to buy a house. I wanted to have fun. And so I got a line of credit, and I maxed that thing out and had a lot of fun spending the money. But then I was still burnt out, and I still didn't want to work and didn't feel like it, and lost my motivation. So, as much as I appreciate my boss trying to help me, and that strategy might work for some, it didn't help me, and it made kind of the burnout and stress that I put myself through worse. And it set me on this path of understanding how do people recover from stressful situations and burnout. And that's why this firm has been founded, is to help CEOs and leaders to have it all, right? A success in business and a rewarding life. Because the success in business, if you work your brains out, you can do it. But to have a rewarding life too is hard, and ideally having both. And I have great experience, and my team's had great experience over the years to work all around the world with great leaders like yourself, and learning lots, and an incredible amount of hours and experience. It resulted in 2 books, Scaling Up, that I was a key contributor and driver of, about how do you continue to grow a company no matter what's going on, and Your Oxygen Mask First, how do you continue to grow and scale yourself in these environments of good and challenge. And what we found out of both is that if the leaders can't scale, the company won't grow. That's the root of all of it. And that is why I really focused on Your Oxygen Mask First. And my next book coming out will be similar vein. And the root of it all is this gravity of growth model that I ended up building to help explain what happens. It's this combination of stress and performance. And the reality is that the stress doesn't happen without performance. Like, is stress good or bad? Well, the answer is it depends. Like, stress is awesome to bring the best out of you, but then too much throws you over the edge. So if you look at the model, you go from not a lot of stress, you're bored, then you get engaged, but in this sweet spot, that's where you do your absolute best work. where there's just the right amount of stress. But then if there's too much, it'll be burnout and then melt down the other side of the curve. Right now, there is a number of people that the stress is getting to them and they're kind of pushed down the other side. I got pushed down a little bit last week. I've been kind of crawling back up, actually in a much better space today. But the reality is the stress gets us. And the hard thing is we can't control the amount of stress. So you're kind of on the tip of a mountain that's covered in ice and you can easily slip down one side or the other. And on top of that, if this is where we are today, we got goals, we got ambitions, we want to stretch and grow ourselves. So for many of us, we want to be double or 5x where we are today, whether it's in our business or life or anything. But that creates more stress. And we actually have to build ourselves up to a bigger sweet spot where we can handle notable more amounts of stress and produce higher levels of performance. And that's just growth. That's about learning different approaches to be able to play a bigger game in a bigger sandbox and to have a bigger spectrum of capability. And that's really what growth is about. Lots of us have done it and we will continue to. But then there's this thing called gravity. And so no matter how much you grow, it tries to push you down the other side. So right now, people are having thoughts. Oh, maybe I should shrink my role or my business and play a smaller game. Go back to my old sweet spot where it was safe and warm and comfortable. Or people are pushing like heck and the stress is burning them out and mentally starting to play tricks in their mind and grind them down. And I would suggest that most people right now would probably be more over into burnout for the people that are really pushing hard on things because it's just more to deal with. And that it's just mathematics. So I'm going to touching on a little bit about mental health and in this, and really, if we look in our society in the world of actors and performers and musicians, you know, there's many people that have succumbed to that gravity of growth and gravity of stress and slipped past burnout to the point where their life has ended early. And I've been curious, like, why do some of these high achievers thrive while others fade away? Why do some people bounce back and some don't? And if we look in the world of business, there's lots of examples. Like Elon Musk has been a spectacular success. Now, I don't know whether he's mad or crazy or both. And there's lots of other people I could put up here. But the reality is that most of them, although, you know, Kate Spade didn't bounce back, but lots of people bounce back. And we've got lots of CEOs that have and leaders we've worked with have all kinds of other issues where the stress gets the best of them. And what I want you to get today is that a lot of weird stuff's going to happen in people's heads with all the additional stress happening around the world right now. And as a result, we got to learn to manage ourselves and be more equipped to not become a point where the stress gets damaging or debilitating to people. Because in business, we burn out and fade away. And we just want to make sure, maybe we'll get a bit burnt, but we want to present ourselves from getting totally, you know, really seriously burnt and not have permanent damage. So in a case, there's always a similar cause, and it's a commitment exceed the capability. The weight of the environment got to them. In this case, it's the weight of the environment. Normally, it's just the weight of our commitment and sometimes the environment. But right now, everyone's carrying a bigger load. And that's okay. We're strong and resilient. And if we have the right mindset and support, we can get through it. And we will get through it and come out stronger. So again, people are just getting pushed down. The right-hand side of the grid is where a lot of people are getting pushed or could get pushed. And if they're not, perfect. Good for them. That's awesome. So the mistake people make is that they listen to conventional wisdom, and there's a lot of it right now. My gosh, the stuff flying around the internet. I mean, please check your sources before you believe anything. So, you know, people will say, oh, you should be grateful for what you have. Oh, but remember, there's starving kids in Africa, or we've got a good job and a family that loves you, whatever it is. You know, people say nice things when you get stressed out. It doesn't help. And it's misguided advice because it usually makes you feel worse or doesn't acknowledge the truth of the stress you're in. Yes, there are people in worse situations, but you might be in a huge amount of pain. So the solution, as cheesy as it is to put your own mask on first. You know, and like they tell us on airplanes when they were flying all the time, you know, take care of yourself first, and then you can be a better help to your team, your company, and your family. And this is so important right now because to the degree to which we take care of ourselves is the quality of how we show up and lead in our family or in our family, and same in our work. So if we don't take good care of ourselves in these crazy stressful times, and it's easy to self-sacrifice, we're not going to be great for other people. And I'm telling myself this just as much as you. I've had some pretty late nights. We've got a lot going on with all of our clients and things that are happening. And I want to help more people, but I got to make sure, you know, next couple of nights, I got to get some more sleep and make sure that I stay strong so I can be an effective leader for others. And part of that staying strong is different. It might be stocking up stuff in your house. I took care of my family and making sure that we're stocked up on stuff and that we're ready to go and we have some plans so that we can all be in good shape if we get stuck into our house. So the idea of your oxygen mask first is these habits to defy that gravity of growth that wants to slam you down into small thinking or burnout. And it's habits to prop you back up there. At the root of all of this is you need to be consciously selfish to be sustainably generous. If you want to be really good to the people around you, you just have to stay very healthy and very strong. And that extra energy for yourself is critical right now. So in the book, we've broken it down into 4 drivers of what is required for sustained growth yourself: your energy, your clarity, your team, and your own growth, i.e. how you evolve and improve your thinking and habits and behaviors. And within it, there's 17 habits. Now, we're not going to get into all 17 today. I'm just going to share them with you. But I want to do another poll here. And that is, which of these should be your main area of focus? Your own energy, your own resilience right now, your mental clarity and making sure you're clear and strong and focused on the right things, your team and making sure your team is strong, or your own growth and dealing with some of the tough things and staying focused on the right plans and stretching yourself. So Tim, I believe I need to launch the poll. So I'm going to switch to poll number 2. So the question I want to ask you here is which of these 4 drivers do you believe you need to focus on the most right now? Where should your main area of focus be? Your energy, your clarity, your team, or your growth? So right now we got 3/4 of people saying energy, about 20% saying clarity. We'll wait just another few seconds here. But basically energy is a place where a lot of people would focus, and then your clarity, and then team is just 7%. So and my observation is about right, because of things have happened so quickly for us, your energy and keeping that strong and clear is pretty damn important. And then your clarity, once you kind of make sure you're strong, where are you going to focus, and keeping your mental health strong. And then team would be next. I would imagine over the next couple of weeks, thinking about our team, for those of you that have teams, that will become more important. So yeah, breaking out 67% energy, 27% clarity, 7% team. And I suspected growth right now, that can go on the back burner. Like we got enough growth based on the environment that we're doing. Great. So thank you for that. Got that. Perfect. So what I'm going to do is we're going to start off with your energy. I anticipate that. By the way, if you haven't already done it, you can do the oxygen assessment. You can go and do that online, oxygenassessment.com. Look at all 17 habits and get more detail. We're not doing that today. So I'm going to take into, and you get your Wheel of Resilience, lots of resources on our site. And if you want a copy of the audiobook form book, like right now, people need positive messages and they need to take really good care of themselves and stay mentally, physically, and spiritually strong. You can download the workbook for free and the audiobook for my book for free. Now, you can go buy them on Amazon if you want. I'm okay with that, but you don't need to. But you can download them and share them widely because people need positive messages and things to focus on anytime, but right now more so. So we're going to focus on 2 things in your energy. I called it right. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for agreeing with the thoughts that were in my brain. About making yourself stronger. That's going to be most of what we're talking about today. And then I'll drop a little bit into some of the mental health stuff as well in there. So in this chapter, forget work-life balance. We have work, self, and life. Do you dedicate enough time and energy for everything that matters, your work, self, and life? And work-life balance is a silly, antiquated concept. And if you're not up to much in the world, it's probably easy. If you work 35 hours a week in a low-stress job, yeah, possible. But for a lot of us, it's not, and it even makes us feel guilty. But more so, read this quote by Neil deGrasse Tyson. You don't go to the amusement park roller coaster and say, hey, I want to be balanced. No, you want to be as unbalanced as possible because that's the thrill of the ride. We want the challenges and the ups and downs. Now, the times that we're doing a little more of the downs aren't as fun, but that's where the growth comes from. That's where we get battle tested and stronger and smarter. So although it's good for us, we might not like it in the moment. Just like the fear you feel on the roller coaster when you think you're going to die in some cases. I remember, just as a side note, my son and I went to a Ferrari World in Abu Dhabi, and we decided to sit in the very front of the roller coaster. There was nothing; it was fully open, like below our knees, and it's like the fastest roller coaster in the world. Yeah. I mean, once I got off it, it was great. I thought I was going to die, but it was fun. So here's the theory: is that there's work and there's life and work-life balance, and work gets bigger, whatever it happens to be. But in this case, work goes over crazy, but there's still some room for life. You're okay. That's not how it works. There's something missing important, and it's really, 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 really important. It's you. It's yourself. And see, work and life grow, and you start compromising on yourself. You sleep less, or don't do what you need to, or don't do your workouts, or get yourself time, whatever the heck it is, and you compromise, and then it starts to hurt. And then it really hurts. And then you can barely breathe because work and life are taking over. And in a circumstance that we're in right now, there is a very good possibility that this could happen to people, and we can't let it happen. If you got to do it for a night, it's fine, but it's not sustainable. And then you start to weaken, and then you bring a mediocre version of yourself to your work and your life. So your commitment exceeds your capability. We understand, but it's not good, and it's dangerous. So the solution is real simple, is pay yourself first and figure out that most of us need probably 10 or 20% of our best energy for ourselves to thrive. More would be ideal in some cases. But if you've got 10% going to yourself and you lock that down, and no matter what, work and life can go nuts, but you're still doing the things you need to do to be the best you. And it continues on. So that is the idea, principle of the book. Figure out what you need to be your best self, not an okay version, but your best, so you can bring your best to your work and your life. So, and there's more exercises in that chapter, but I want to drop right into this chapter because this is where the work is and how we can help ourselves and the people around us the most today. And by the way, with this webinar, we're recording it. We'll have it available for other people to watch, and you're welcome to share it widely if you think it gives some help to the people in your world that need it. So now that we know we got to do some good stuff for ourselves and we allocated some energy, it's about doubling our resilience. And literally that's what we need to do right now. And the question here is, how good are you at making time for things that build and maintain your resilience, your body, your mind, and your spirit? And so Tina, the CEO of one of our clients in Canada, it's CEO is a TNT Supermarkets, largest Asian supermarket chain in the country. Who's really early on this curve because they're so directly connected to China that they've been dealing with stuff that most people are dealing with now. They were dealing with it a month ago. So she says you have to continually develop and increase your personal stamina. That's her words and how she looks like it. And I think it's a great view. So we've got this thing in the book called Resilience Rituals. Resilience is a discipline, and it is because of our rituals. And if you're getting up this morning and you're watching the news for half an hour, and then you're checking your news feed throughout the day, you might not be too resilient because that'll start to wear you down. Although there is some awareness you need for sure. So we look at it through is how do you take care of your body? How do you take care of your mind? How do you take care of your spirit? Now your body, it's your energy, your physical vitality. And your mind, it's about being calm and focused and clear on the stuff that matters most. You can call it calm, you can call it present, whatever you want. And it's spirit's joy. So you're just like feeling good and being happy and feeling good. And if people end up spending more time in their homes and working from home, that last one's going to be critical to keep your spirit sparked and fired. And I said spirit, I didn't mean spirits. One of our clients is a chain of pubs and liquor stores, and they're trying to figure out how to make sure people can still get the spirits that they want, because that is a part of many people's lives. And for some people, having an extra cocktail or glass of wine might help. Now, but we're not talking about that. Now, that might be a passion of yours, and that's cool. It might be a passion. And we just got to be careful with it, because it's one of those passions that can also get you, it can turn into a bit of a poison and get you into trouble. But maybe you do like crafting the ideal cocktail, or you like Scotch, or you enjoy wine. That might be a passion of yours. For some people, it's their religious text. I got a client in Mexico, and he likes to read his religious text for an hour every day. That puts him into a beautiful place. Or maybe it's things like fishing, or gardening, or cycling. All of these, everyone has different things that they do and bring their spirit alive, right? And some of these things you might not be able to do. Like with hockey, you might not get to play it. You might have to be watching the reruns on TV, and that's, you know, that's okay. But there's a different things that people do that make them feel great and strong and joyful and inspired inside. And we want to keep doing these things as much as we can, although some, I mean, this would not be acceptable for social distancing. You'd have to be sitting much farther away, and you probably shouldn't even do this these days. But for me, like, because some of my things are writing. When I sit and write, it not only does great stuff come out of the end of the pen, but it puts me into a beautiful place. Surfing, like night surfing behind a boat in a lake, hoping we get to do that this summer. EDM music. I love electronic music, you know, and I love the sound. It makes me feel great. So when I am traveling, I got earbuds in almost all the time. I'm either listening to this kind of music, I am on a phone call, or I'm listening to an audiobook. But this music lifts me up. I was playing it this morning. It feels great. Beaches, sun, all those things feel great. Motorcycles, you know, I went out 7 a.m. yesterday for a ride, freezing, but it just felt so good to get out. This is me and a friend of mine, Jean-Pierre, a CEO of a founder of another company, and doing the California Superbike School. But motors and things that are loud and go fast, yes, I know they're bad for the environment, but they light up my spirit. And then cars racing. It's my son there, the little guy there, but he's not that little anymore. But, you know, learning how to race cars at a track that we're members of up in the interior of British Columbia. Again, it driving, moving, the sound of motors just makes me feel great. That's mine. Yours are probably different. The point of it is you want to know these things that are your non-negotiables to stay resilient. And again, people will compromise on these. I mean, parents that have their children at home, and in some places, some parts of the world, it looks like it in Canada, it could be, you know, 5 months, like summer break started and people will be at home and homeschooled. Now, hopefully that all changes. But people are, it'd be easy to get out of these resilience rituals. And, you know, if people have to spend more time in their homes, how are you going to be able to manage your workouts? You need to change what your workouts are. So, and there's lots of ways to work. There's always workarounds. So the point is, for me, I need to work out 3 times a week early. That makes me feel good. Now, this morning, I was up late preparing for some webinars today. So I just got out for a quick walk for like 15 minutes, and I did a basic version today. But for me, I like, you know, stuff with, well, walking, biking, some activity with friends or family for my body. Mind, journaling, writing for 10 or 15 minutes, at least 3 times a week, ideally 5. After a workout, just clearing my thoughts, and then updating my to-do list. Might sound weird, but I normally have way too much going on, and updating my to-do list really, really helps me a lot. And when I don't, I notice the difference. So updating it for the week, the plan for the week, and then daily tweaking it. And then spirit, adventures with loved ones. And that doesn't matter what it is. I mean, you know, my kids and I went horseback riding this summer, rented an RV, did a road trip. It doesn't matter what it is. My daughter and I went and did high tea at a Peter Pan inspired restaurant. My son and I went karting the other day. You know, friends and I will go ride bikes or boating, cars, it doesn't matter. But some sort of adventure of some sort with people I care about. And then finally, I got down there, audiobooks, listening and learning, and driving. Like getting in a car and driving or riding a bike makes a big difference. So not right or wrong, that's what works for Kevin. So what I would like you to take a second now and write down in terms of your resilience rituals. You know, what energizes you, focuses you, and brings the best out of you? What are those resilience rituals for you? And take a second, and ideally you get one of those in each category. Whoops, sorry, go forward here. One of those in each category. Now, you could download the workbook or get it, but for now, just scratch it down on a piece of paper. What are your resilience rituals? And those things that you absolutely cannot move on at all. You've got to make sure you do them no matter what. Take a second and think about it. And there is a way to turn music on while you're doing this, but I don't know how to do it. I know I'm not going to sing to you. Hey, Dino, good to see you on the call there. I haven't chatted for a while. Good to see your name again. Just scanning through the list of all the people that are here that are participating. So, all right. Body, mind, and spirit. What are those things that you need to do for yourself? Now, there's lots of apps that can help, and you probably have heard of lots of these that you can use to prompt you, remind you, whatever it happens to be. There's tons of things you can do. I'm using one with one of my clients, and I slipped on it in last week because I got a bit distracted. But where we just check in, my major thing is to work out and write every day right now. That's my main focus. And where we have an accountability app that we use, and I'll tell you the name of it. It's really simple. It's really, really good. And it's called My Habits. Basic name, or habit share, pardon me, is what it's called. Habit share is a simple one, but there's Headspace for meditation and lots of others. So one of the other techniques that we normally recommend, and you might do this going forward because lots of us had to cancel trips. Normally the thing to help with your resilience is to pre-block and prepay for vacations. I wouldn't recommend the prepay right now. But to block off the times that you think you're going to do going forward. And some of you already have that, but to know when you're going to get away. And the other thing with these resilience pieces is your accountability partners. Accountability partners can really, really help you on this. And those are people that we want to make sure that we tap into so we do the right things. And accountability partners these days could be as simple as just a quick check-in and making sure you do the two things you got to do for yourself. If you're still able to stay active, you can get out and, you go for a walk, have a walking partner, a running partner, a workout partner, whatever it happens to be. So, and there's a cure to this. There's a magic cure to feeling selfish about it because, I say to people, hey, you got to go and take better care of yourself. You got to spend more time focusing on you. And one of my clients goes, what, are you crazy? So I'm going to go home and I'm going to talk to my spouse and say, hey, I heard this Coach Kevin guy, he's telling me I got to do more things for myself and spend more time on me. And he tells me I need to be more selfish. And, he goes, they said, that's not going to go over well. I said, yeah, you're right. That probably does not go over well. So we came up with a solution to make sure that it is not a selfish act. It's actually a generous act. And it's so darn simple. And that is, it's mine and yours. And it's figuring out it could be your spouse. It could be a team member or somebody that a good friend of yours, but it's called mine and yours. Figure out what those other people need to do for their body, mind, and spirit, and put your list together and figure out how you can make space or accommodation to allow both of you to do what you need to do. And it's like, you might need to get out for a run in the morning, and then your partner might want to do gardening at night or watch a show that they like to watch at night. It doesn't matter what it is. The key is to find ways to cooperate. Now, by the way, those of you that lead teams, and with a lot of people working at home these days, it's critical for people to know what to do, because it is not, when you're in the same environment with your family all day long and working from home, it creates all kinds of other weirdness and pressures. So more than ever, people need to know what they need to do to take care of themselves, and even helping people on your team to figure this out as well would be really, really helpful. Really helpful. So recommendation is to talk to your family or your team or somebody else, help other people build their list and be supportive of that. Maybe not holding them accountable unless you work with them. In your personal life, that kind of accountability can be dangerous, but supporting them on doing that. So here is my challenge on this, is to finalize your resilience rituals and discuss it with your partner, right? And whether it's a partner in business or partner in life, but discuss it with them and support each other in doing it. And as we're going through this, you're thinking about someone on your life or in your team that needs this and needs to make themselves stronger. And think about, who do you need to share this principle with? You can download the audiobook and they can listen to it. They can replay the webinar and listen to it, or they can grab the workbook and just do the other exercises around this to help them. But that is my challenge for you. And the reality is, in good times, you deserve and need at a minimum 60 minutes a day to be your best. It's not possible to sustain high performance otherwise. In these times, I don't know. Maybe it's less, maybe it's more. It might be down to 30 at a minimum because of everything else going on. That's fine. But if you don't put that time into yourself, it's going to be very hard to stay strong and resilient and show up at your best. So a reminder, you can get the workbook or the audiobook on this link. I'm just going to pull up a different part of the presentation. So 1 second here, bear with me. I'm going to pull up a different part of the presentation that I wanted to get into to share with you. So right now you see the Q&A tab. If you've got any questions, please feel free to post any questions and we can address those in a second. And I've got to pull up the next module I want to share with you. One moment. And I want to dig a little bit into mental health and helping you understand it. Again, this is a service for you and the people you work with so they can see what's going on in terms of mental health and be able to appropriately help people around them if needed. One second, just finding the link. Here we are. And got it. Just need to unhide these because it's, there we are. Beautiful. Okay, so I will share this again. Here we are. Here we are. Okay, can you see that? I'm joking, I know you can't see that. So managing your mental health is the next chapter in this in terms of what you need to do to stay strong. And I want you to understand what happens with mental health so you can see it. Because look, there are some people already having meltdowns. I got pretty stressed last week and I've done a bunch of preparations and pulled myself back. Some executives in a few companies, there's a couple executives that have actually, the stress has really gotten to them and cracked them. They had other things going on before, but I'll explain. So this is how skilled are you at managing your mental health? And sometimes resilience can't be enough. No matter how strong and resilient you are, it can still get to you. This is a time that could fit in that category. So the resilience rituals and coping mechanism, exercising, eating well, clearing your mind, social connections, all those things are things that help. And by the way, we're gonna have to innovate on the social connections. And I'm gonna set up, because my sister and her family are quarantined, they were away. I'm gonna start to set up a regular video call like this, a Zoom call with our family, so everyone can chat and just stay connected. And I'm gonna start that probably tomorrow. But one of the CEOs we work with, he said, yeah, I'm 60, I've been doing this CEO thing for years. I can handle anything. Said one CEO before they melted down. We all get hit by stuff. And what happens is we'll be in our happy little sweet spot and then we'll get knocked down where the stress puts us into a mental emergency. And again, that's what we're trying to understand so we can help ourselves and others. And I first learned about this with Robin Williams. And the short version of the story is I didn't understand mental health. And a friend of a friend heard me criticize Robin Williams for ending his life. And this guy thought he was going to come across the table at me. His name is Cameron Keller, and I still am forever indebted to Cameron Keller for sharing this with me. But he said, Kevin, you need to understand about mental health. He said, here's the deal. When people are under too much stress and pressure and they slip off the mental health continuum down into a bad place, they feel like they have a vice on their head that's getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And they feel like it's a one-way thread on the vice and it can't be undone. And they feel like they're a burden to family and their society. And they feel like the pain will never stop. So for them, ending their game of life seems logical, even though it's not the best option because they could get better. They lose the faith that they can. And this little Canadian punk, Justin Bieber, he's actually a good kid, did an Instagram post earlier or late last year that really described well what happens when your brain starts to melt down. And he shared specific, I'm just parts of his post. It's hard to get out of bed in the morning, overwhelmed with your life, your job, your past, responsibilities, emotions, family, finances, relationships. You start foreseeing the day through the lens of dread, disappointment after disappointment. You don't want to live anymore, and you believe it's never going to change. That's what happens when people get mentally messed up. Those are the symptoms. Even though it's not true, that's what they believe. He had a lot of money and clothes and cars and accolades, but he was still unfulfilled and felt insane pressure and responsibility, and he was basically confused. He talks about how being on stage provides a huge dopamine rush and people feel amazing, but when you're down, you drop so low, and that the drug abuse or the addictions are a way to try and balance that out. And he said, and he became distant from the people who loved him. He was hiding behind the shell of a person he'd become. He felt like he could never turn it around. For us, the tribe heals each other. We need social contact and connections to support ourselves. That's how we thrive. But when you self-isolate unconsciously, it makes it worse. When you're forced to isolate, it can make it harder. So that's why we have to be conscious around these things. And finally, luckily, God blessed me with extraordinary people who love me with love for him and for him. So he had great people that helped him. So the root of it is, I'm going to skip this, is that there's this thing called the Holmes-Rahe stress scale that helps us understand what throws us into a place where our brain kind of melts down. And it's life events that throw us. So, things like death of a spouse or marital separation or even getting married, these all have a different weighting, or pregnancy or business readjustments or change in financial state. You guys, many of these things are happening to us all at once. And you can do the assessment and see, but many people will be at the point where they're just really loaded up with a lot of stuff. And no matter how strong you are, it's like going in the ring with Mike Tyson. You might take one punch. You're not going to take 5. And so when these things weigh on us, it stresses good, strong people. And I've seen the best of the best have the stress get to them. Everyone is susceptible to this. All of them. I experience this stuff sometimes too myself. We're all susceptible. So the point is, things and external circumstances can mess with us. And this, one of the CEOs I worked with that somebody else begged me to help, after I wrote the blog about Spade and Bourdain, they said, hey, I was there, man. He never told me, but he was at the point where he didn't know if it was worth proceeding anymore in his life. And thankfully, through coaching and helping him see the way through and seeing that it would get better on the other side, he was fine. So I'm going to skip this story. So the root of it is, all you need is a couple big events and it knocks you down mentally. It just happens to all of us. And so there's this thing called the gravity of mental health I want you to understand. And I'll make a note. I'm going to do a talk just on this. But it's, you go from being in a happy spot where you're mentally healthy to you get reacting to you're injured to you're ill. And then those people who become statistics, they just slide below the line and then they choose to end their life, unfortunately. But we just slip into a deeper, harder place. And then it goes down step by step. And so what I want you to understand is, how do you get back up? That's what I'm here to share with you. And so we have this thing called the mental health continuum that mental health associations around the world created. I didn't create it. I'm just sharing it. And thank you again to Cameron Keller. So what it does, it shows you going from healthy, reacting, injured, and ill. And I think last week, maybe even early this week, I went to like dark orange or maybe light red. I mean, I had some clients in other parts of the world dealing with some pretty serious stuff. And I was doing late nights. Plus my trip to India, I was supposed to go to India last Thursday. We called it last second, thankfully, because I'd probably be stuck there. But then instead I was doing Zoom, running a planning session via Zoom till 2 in the morning every night because they're on different time zones. So anyway, no matter what, it hit me. But here's, whoops. So it basically looks at these other variables: your mood, your anxiety, your mindset, your work, your cognition, sleep, health, energy, your social interaction, and your coping mechanisms. So as an example, if you look at your mood in green, your mood's normal, you're calm, good sense of humor, performing well, in control mentally. All of these things are kind of normal when you're in green. But let's go to orange. And your mood, you're often angry. Or in red, you have angry outbursts or aggression. Like road rage. I've seen a bit on the road. Anxiety, you'd be more anxious. You go from being normal to anxious, or people have panic attacks or anxiety. Mindset, you're professionally sad, or you might be depressed or suicidal. Work, you have a negative attitude, or you might have over-insubordination. Cognition, poor performance, workaholic, poor concentration, to you just can't do your job. Sleep could be, you're having a hard time sleeping, to you can't fall asleep or stay asleep, or you're sleeping too much or too little. Sleep's out of control. Health, you start to have aches and pains, and here you actually get sick. Energy, you start to be fatigued, where here you're constantly fatigued. Social, you start to avoid and withdraw, where here you don't go out or even answer the phone. And here, gambling or alcohol becomes hard to control. Those are common, whatever the addiction. Mine, I've realized, you just have to watch the number of Amazon packages that show up, because I know that when I get stressed, I go on Amazon. I don't know why. It is one of my either I eat unhealthy food, sugary food, or Amazon. That's my coping mechanism. I don't gamble. I don't really drink that much. My drinking doesn't modulate a lot. So, and then finally, like, addictions are out of control because other addictions kick in because it's just way too much and you don't know how to cope. So the thing we want you to understand is, for yourself, watch how people move. And if you yourself get in yellow or orange or red, you need help. And again, your family and that can help, but they're not qualified, especially if you're in red. You need expert help. And for me, all executives and leaders move through this. I go through yellow and orange on a regular basis. That's my wiring, unfortunately, or fortunately. But I know how to get back really fast with the support I have around me, coaches and counselors, and family and friends that I know can help me to get back. And I've done it so many times. I've burnt myself out so many times, probably 18 times, 15 times. But for most people, when this happens, it freaks them out and they think they're weak. It happens to everybody. And even the higher performing somebody is, the more high-strung high performer, the more likely it is. And all the highest performers I work with have told me in confidence, yeah, I've been there. Orange always, and somewhat often red. So the idea of this is to recognize it and get the right help and watch for changes in this. You know, one of my clients, he's a 2 martini a day guy. He's had 2 martinis a day for decades. You know, when he got up to 8, he knew there was something going on and he was probably in the red zone and needed help. So it's not having 2 drinks every day is not the thing. It's changes. And so what I'd like you to think about is, where are you today? You know, and I'm probably, I was a little bit orange. I'm back in yellow, back in a better place today. I know what I need to do over the weekend to move back towards green. But where are you today? And if you're in orange or red, I recommend you get help. And I'll tell you how to in a minute. But if you don't know what that is, you can reach out and ask us. Email us, we'll gladly help you figure that out. We deal with this every week. So things in the book that help to reduce it. Licking your toads, believe it or not, is a massive way to improve your mental health. It's all these little things you procrastinate that weigh on you. Teaching people to meet your standards, basically stop people from driving you crazy. Tackle tough conversations. Have the conversations that you dread. And number 6, dealing with your emotional junk. Cleaning the junk out of your head, which is normally seeing a counselor or a therapist to unpack old injuries or trauma that are holding you back. So there's a thing, and again, that I learned about called mental health first aid to help you knowing what to do when things get orange and red. And it's so simple. But here's what I want you to understand. You know, if somebody, you know, fell down, like for example, I'm driving back last night, driving home, and I see all these cars parked and everyone's helping this elderly man on the side of the road. I don't know what happened to him. He had 6 people helping him, but they know what to, whether he fell and hurt his leg or whatever, they know that they would help him, stabilize him, and then they would call 911. So we know how to, you know, and there might've been a first aid practitioner that could help him if it was an injury, but they for sure would call 911. Problem is with mental health stuff, we don't know what to do because it's not normal and we're ashamed or awkward around it. So sometimes we don't even ask for help if we are hurt, or the people around us don't know where to send us. So mental health first aid has a model called ALGIE. It's kind of like it's like first aid for mental health. So it's ALGIE, assess for risk or suicide or harm. So just see if they're really in danger. If there is risk for suicide or harm, you know, you got to go right down to E, and it might be encourage, but it might be take them to. But then listen, not judgmentally, listen to them. Don't, and then give reassurance and information. Don't tell them about starving kids in Africa. That's not going to help. But give reassurance that, hey, this is normal. People have been here before. Look at this mental health continuum, or let's get a hold of your doctor or someone else, which is the next step. And then finally, encourage self-help and support strategies to help them figure out what they got to do to feel good and be on the right track. If it's just mild, they might need to talk to a friend or go for a walk or who knows what. But it's the getting professional help that's key. Almost none of us are qualified to help people when they're in a dark orange or red zone. Because it's like we're not qualified to do surgery on someone who has a compound fracture. And that's where you need a psychologist or a counselor, and you need to get someone to help. So if you don't have a psychologist or counselor, you can ask your doctor, or you can call your mental health hotline. One second, just had a question. Right, someone just said here, the classic feel, felt, found. Thanks, Dean. Is that there's a feel, felt, found, and it's a way for listening to someone. I feel what you're saying. I felt the same before. Here's what I've found. The thing that I have found, appreciate that, Dean. Thing that I have found again and again and again, Melissa, I'll get to you in a second. Again and again and again on this topic is people are embarrassed as hell. So the first thing I say is it's normal. It happens all the time and it'll get better. We just got to figure out the appropriate course of action. And you might need to say it 10 times. So in every place that you live, there are mental health hotlines you can call. Just type in mental health hotline right now. You'll find a few. Many companies' benefits programs have mental health lines you can call, or people you can call. And in a worst case scenario, if someone's completely losing it, you can go to emergency. Right now, that might not be the best case. You can call the mental health lines though, and they will help you. 1 second here. Melissa had a question. 1 second here. There we go. Where did she go? Somebody had a question. Yeah, Ina, I will, I'm gonna turn it on so you can talk and ask your question. Ina, you had a question? Ina, did you have a question? Nope, I think sorry, I am doing something. No, I will leave that. There's somebody had a question and I'm trying to find a way to get to it. So what I would recommend is if you do, just type your question into the Q&A, and then we can answer any questions that you have there. So the thing I would suggest is, who might you need to have what I call a coffee talk with? I mean, Anthony Bourdain was an amazing guy. He did some amazing, amazing stuff. But who do you know in your world, that you might need to talk about it, that might be having a mental health thing? I personally, I am reaching out to many of our clients on a regular basis. I'm obviously talking to my parents. I mean, I'm visiting my parents through the window of their house. And because I can't, I don't want to, take any chances of spreading anything to them. So I'm doing window visits. We're doing a virtual birthday party. It's my sister's birthday today. Happy birthday, Carolyn. And we're going to, oh, she's not listening, is she? No, but we're probably going to do a virtual birthday party at some point. I don't want to spill the beans. We have a little surprise for her, in case she's listening. But we're going to do a virtual birthday party today, and whether it's virtual or something else. So there's a question here from Ina. It says, a lockdown is imposed in our region to last until 13th of April at minimum. Do you have any advice on how to cope with the situation from the view of all the different aspects? Working from home, insecurity, for sure. So I'm going to go to Ina's question on this. Look, consumer demand does not change. Almost all businesses will be fine through this. If there's some business people that are not smart and have themselves way over leveraged, they might mess it up, but those ones might not have been in business anyways. The governments are in around the world are going to find ways to support. The most important thing is to focus on the things that you can do and you can control, for sure. So my belief is, what can you do? So if you're in a lockdown in your particular place, and basic things like exercise. So you might not be able to go out for a run or a ride depending on what's allowed where you are. But there's one of my favorites is something called Yoga with Tim. There's this guy on YouTube that's got yoga videos, and you can sit and do yoga, or you can do basic physical workouts so that your body is good. There's lots of workouts you can look up for your body, and that's important for a lot of people, including myself. The social connections, we're gonna have to find different innovative ways to have social connections, which is through video conferences and seeing people, or phone calls. Like I'm gonna get my family and probably get a dozen people on a video conference regularly, so we can just chat and catch up. One of my clients is having a virtual beer Friday. Well, no one's in the office, but everyone's gonna be at their home office and crack a beverage of choice, and they're gonna get on Zoom and have a virtual beer Friday. We've just got to find positive ways to adapt and focus on what we can do and looking at the opportunities that are available. What I'm going to be sharing over the next bit is that I'm going to be putting on a daily newsletter with tips to help you with work, self, and life, from what I'm hearing from our clients and the things that they're looking. So, there's probably more to that question, but we got to make a list of what we can do, because that's where we go. When we sit and just wait, it hurts us. We got to get action. Like lots of people are doing spring cleaning projects in their house, whether it's purging their house, organizing, sanitizing in some cases, doing things to keep busy. Anne's asking a question. Any advice on how to get someone who's resisting any form of help to listen or pay attention? That is hard. You've got to wait until they're ready. I recommend sharing the mental health continuum is a helpful model, or hearing it from another third party or someone else like myself. So you could share this with them, this webinar. You could share that section of the book. You could share the mental health continuum, but sharing external resources. But it's no different. I've had some experience through clients with Alcoholics Anonymous. If someone is an alcoholic and has a drinking problem, until they hit rock bottom, their ears are plugged. They're not willing to hear it because they're not ready to get help just yet. So my belief is offering, suggesting, recommending, making them feel okay. And at some point, if they're not going to get it, you just got to love them, because that's probably going to support them and make them feel better. It's hard. You can't make people do it. You can just make offers. And at some point, you can just, not treating someone like they're broken, because that sometimes does more damage. Any other questions that I can answer? Eva, how do you get a recorded copy to share with others? Janice from my assistant can send out a link to everyone afterwards and be able to share that with people, so you can share this with whoever you want. And if you're in a company and you want, one of the things that we're going to do a daily newsletter. I'm going to offer a bunch of webinars over the next couple months to help people out, because we have endless stuff that we teach our clients, but we're going to offer it to our community for free to be of support. The newsletter is going to go 5 to 7 times a week for free. But if people want private sessions for their employees to do a session around mental health or resilience or working remotely or whatever it happens to be, and then having a discussion forum, a number of our clients want that. So that is something that as a firm we're able to help with. We're going to be doing virtual strategic planning and such as well. So we'll be sharing lots for free, but if you need someone to come and do something in your company, we can do that as well. So if you have any other questions, feel free to post them. I want to continue on here. Great questions. Thank you very much. So when it comes down to mental health, and you guys, I will run this webinar again as well, because more stuff's going to come up. We need to educate people. We need to be vulnerable and share our own. We've all had our own challenges, and we need to normalize it so people get, this is just part of the game. It's no different than getting bugs on your windscreen when you're driving your car. It's part of life sometimes. And then make sure people get the assistance they need. So for you, if you need help, get help. That would be what I would strongly recommend. If you need it, get it. And in this case, it could indeed be a psychologist or a counselor, or even just talking to your friends more often. Just be careful of the people who don't see that we're going to get through the other side. I think it's great for people getting prepared. I've got my family and myself well prepared in this situation. But at some point, people need to get at it and start living their life in these new circumstances. Some people won't, and be careful with those people, because they'll probably drag you down mentally. Try and help them the best you can, but you've got to see what's possible. The world's not coming to an end. It's just a little bit bumpy. It's like turbulence in a plane. And then who on your team, your life, should really have a coffee talk with, or needs to see the stuff around mental health? It's absolutely supportive and critical. So I'm going to skip that. 1 second here. I'm going to go back to the other presentation, and 1 second here. And I got a couple more things I want to share with you. And we are not getting into the business part of it. So what I want to do, hold on, too many things going on my screen at once. So what I wanted to get you to share is some of the best things. There it is. I had hidden a slide. That's why I couldn't find it. I want you to share some of the best things that you have found that are working for you or in your company. And whether it's in the realm of work or self or life, what are the things that you are doing or you've seen people doing that are really helpful in this time when it comes to resilience, mental health for yourself or for the people that you work with. So great ideas for these times around work, around self, around life. So if you want to post them in that Q&A tab, and then I can share some of the things I've been seeing. So for the self, I've mentioned the beer Friday that one of our companies is doing today. Other companies are doing daily calls with their team, which is a discipline that we've used in scaling up. Daily calls with their team to stay focused and keep people on the same page. Another company is doing something really, really interesting. They were just on one of our CEO calls. is that they were asking everybody on the team, because they're a retail business is allowed to stay open, asking everyone on the team what do they need to do to feel safe at work. And they've implemented all these new policies like you wouldn't believe in changing how they did business. One of the suggestions here is nature walks. Yeah, like if you're still allowed to get out and about, like getting out as much as you can. And nature is powerful and healing. So getting out for nature, going for walks with your friends. Yes, you have to be 2 meters away. That's no problem. Another suggestion here is learning new skills. Like it's a great time to take a course and do something. Like I'm thinking of my kids who are going to be out of school. Is like, what can we get them doing that's something new to put energy into? In our firm, we've got a lot of projects that we're going to get caught up on and to help. Another daily calls with your team for sure. Daily calls with your family, but I'm going to recommend that those become not one-on-one. Try and get groups of people together because it's the whole tribe. Tim from our team is saying the virtual happy hour for sure. Meditation challenge. I love this one. A once a week check-in on the news. Be careful. It's so addictive and seductive. So restrict the time you look at it. You're going to figure stuff out soon enough. We know what's going on. We don't need to know about borders closing. We just need to take care of ourselves for sure. Any other idea? What else we got here? Kelly's got a Yammer channel for daily posts and questions. Today was share your baby pic and a fun childhood story. Kelly, that is a wicked idea. I love that one. We'll make sure that we share it. They're also having WebEx beer time after work hours. Really, really good idea. 1 second here. There's free monthly subscriptions. Some companies out there like Jazzercise and some of these other online things are offering free monthly subscriptions or things to help people out. So you guys, there's lots. The key of it all is to do the resilience rituals and to help the people around you make sure they do the same thing. If you're in a leadership position, finding ways to bring some of this stuff to life in your companies, like ensuring those beer Fridays or ensuring those other activities that will help. Again, in my family, I know I've got to do these video calls to keep people connected. And then finally, how do we have some fun? So in my newsletter, I'm going to add a section with just fun stuff because we can so easily get caught in a drama. But what is the fun stuff going on? Whether it's something fun that you can do. I was actually thinking, maybe, I got to get my kids doing a scavenger. I mean, they're 16 and 14, but, a scavenger hunt or something. But again, we need to be strong and resilient to have the energy and thinking about how we can do that and bring it alive. So I really like it. Over the next coming weeks and months, we're going to reach out to the network, which you guys are a key part of, and asking for what are these ideas so we can continue to share it back and kind of, learn from the network and share it back with the network to help. So excellent ideas. There's lots of strategies around work, and I'll just share for those of you from a company perspective, it's like, don't waste a good crisis. Lots of companies we work with are thriving right now, and they're able to make some big changes quickly that they couldn't because the situation allows much more quick change because people get that things need to move. So don't waste a good crisis. Have fun in your life and keep people connected. Don't let people isolate. Even if they're physically isolated, do not let them isolate. Stay connected to the people you care about. And for yourself, stay strong and resilient. And what I would suggest on this, again, the audiobook and workbook is available. But I'll wrap up here in a second with a really funny story. But for you, if you get to the point where you or someone close to you gets mentally over the edge, reach out to us. We will gladly help and provide guidance. And we're not going to charge anybody for it. We never charge for that kind of stuff for anyone. We're happy to help if you get in a situation you don't know how to handle. So kind of wrapping up, and I got my story to end with you. Some people burn out and others fade away. Usually the ones that fade away get in a deep, dark place and they're not able to get the faith that they can get through this, although often they could. And we know that this is an opportunity for us to get stronger. But yes, we're getting slammed down and forced into some tough situations, and there's always a way back. We just got to stay clear on what matters most. And in your case, it's those drivers, and it sounds like energy and clarity. That is what mine are. Energy is my workout, clarity is my writing. I got those two things are my top ones, no ifs, ands, or buts. That's what makes me the best version of me. and allows me to defy the stress and stay in a good place. I know my 10%. I want you to think about your energy, your energy, your calmness, and your joy, your body, your mind, and your spirit. What do you got to do to take best care of you? And for the people you care about in your world, figure out their list and support them on doing the same so they can be a great version of themselves too. And we need that 60 minutes a day, you guys. We gotta. And away from all the drama and the noise, like the world's not coming to an end. It's all going to work out. It's just a bit of turbulence it could be for a few weeks or a month or two. Okay. But it's just turbulence. So what are you going to do to take care of yourself so you can be a part of the solution here? So talk is cheap. Think about what resilience ritual are you going to start or restart? Right? What are you going to do about that? Take a second and write that down. And then finally, what about your team and family? Who do you need to make a suggestion to or offer a resource to help? Again, mine is having that family video time is mine. You have better ideas, I'm sure. That's what I got today. So I want to tell you a funny story about my Auntie Grace. My Auntie Grace is a woman who was inspiring in her own way. Her husband passed away when she was in her mid-50s, and she lived into her 90s. And, and she would be like this lady here, very well dressed and sweet, wonderful lady. And she was hilarious. Like, she was a lot of fun. She was an inspiration to me. But a funny story is my sister's wedding. And my Auntie Grace was there, obviously. And one of my sister's friends goes, "Hey, do you know that lady?" And my sister's like, "What?" She goes, "Yeah, that's my Auntie Grace." And my sister's like, "Yeah." And then the girl goes, "Well, okay." And the girl looked really worried. And my sister goes, "Why? What's the story?" And she goes, "She's on our blacklist." And on our blacklist. And our sister's like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Yeah, she's, this girl's family owned a bunch of heritage properties in a city called New Westminster. And they hosted weddings and funerals and parties. And it turned out my Auntie Grace would get her Sunday best on Saturday and Sunday. And she would go in and enjoy the wonders of these weddings and funerals. She'd go make new friends, get a nice lunch. And she's the kind of person you'd love to have at your wedding or your event because she's sweet and chatty and wonderful. But she was scoring free food and making new friends. And so she was on a blacklist and she was banned from these places. So my Auntie Grace, the wedding crasher, we never told her that we knew this, but this was her passion and her hobby. Now, I'm not telling you to crash weddings. Don't want to tell you to even get near human beings right now. That's not what I'm saying. But she lived life and she had fun in her own special, creative way. So, the ending quote in my book is from Hunter Thompson, the author who wrote some crazy stuff. But it's kind of the philosophy I have for life, and we can't forget this. And it's, life should not be a journey to the grave with the intention of arriving safely in a well-preserved body, but to rather skid in broadside, thoroughly used up in a cloud of smoke, totally worn out, and loudly proclaiming, "Wow, what a ride." And at the end of the day, this is just part of the ride, you guys. There's some weird stuff happening for sure. But we still want to live our lives and have a good time and take care of ourselves and create great memories. So my hope for you is that you got some ideas from today that'll help you and that you can take that and share that with your team. And yes, there's a lot of negative stuff in the news, but try and ignore it. Do the right things, absolutely. But find ways still to be enjoying your life and having a great time, which is a role model for other people. You're just going to have to put a bit more energy into figuring it out. So have a wonderful day. I'll hang on at the end if there's more questions that you have. We'll send out a link and to the resources here. And if there's any other way that we can help you, whether it's something you want to broadcast in your company or something that we can do here to help you, then I'm more than happy to help you. And I hope you have an awesome, awesome rest of the day. All the best to you. So there was a question. Yeah, you're very welcome to someone saying thank you. And I think I've covered off all of the questions. You guys are very welcome. Have a wonderful rest of the day.